Looking at live pictures out of Concord, New Hampshire right now, the Republican presidential race is in the hands of voters across the Granite State on this critical primary night. We're about an hour away now from the first results when most polling places will close across the state of New Hampshire. Following the results of last week's caucuses, where Donald Trump became the first Republican to ever win a contested Iowa caucus with a majority of the vote, the field has been whittled down to just 4 major candidates now: former President Donald Trump, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, former South Carolina Governor and UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, and businessman Ryan Binkley. Former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie withdrew from contention prior to the caucuses, while former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson and entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy dropped out of the race following disappointing results in the first in the nation's state. Ramaswamy quickly endorsed Donald Trump following his withdrawal, as has another former presidential candidate, Senator from South Carolina Tim Scott. And taking a look at the estimated delegate totals so far, following the Iowa caucuses, the Hawkeye State awarded 40 delegates on the night. And media organizations have projected that Trump will win 20 delegates, Ron DeSantis will win 9, Nikki Haley will win 8, and Vivek Ramaswamy will win 3. Now tonight, New Hampshire will award 22 delegates, proportionally to all of the candidates that receive more than 10% of the statewide vote. And with that in mind, let's take a look here at the latest polling averages from Decision Desk HQ, Real Clear Politics, and 538. Here are the numbers. Trump leads in all 3 trackers as of January 19th, 2024, albeit far more narrowly than the advantage he held heading into Iowa, as Nikki Haley has thrown everything her campaign has into New Hampshire. Trump's average is hovering right around 46% to 48%, followed by Haley between 33 to 35%, and then Ron DeSantis, who has all but given up in New Hampshire. His campaign opted to skip traveling to the state entirely after Iowa and focusing instead on the upcoming contests in Nevada and South Carolina. This should come as no surprise, given that he has not hit double digits in a single poll since early December, and that would of course mean that he would not be in line to receive delegates tonight. Also of note in polling throughout the primary cycle in New Hampshire so far is the large split between education level among Republican voters. While Trump has led by a wide margin among likely Republican voters without a college degree, Haley has led among those with a bachelor's degree or higher. Her strength among this demographic has been noted among election analysts as a key reason for her potential strength here in New Hampshire. As while Iowa ranks 38th among all U.S. states in proportion of residents with a college degree, New Hampshire ranks 8th. Now with that said, let's take a look back at 2016 to see just how accurate polling was in New Hampshire. In a crowded field, Trump led with 31.2%, according to RCP's average headed into the primary, and exceeded that average by 4 points in his final vote share. Each of the top 5 candidates in the race in 2016, though, finished within 4 points or less from their average in the polls, indicating that polling was actually very strong here 8 years ago. Alrighty, after an uninspiring start for anti-Trump candidates and voters in the 2024 Republican primary calendar in Iowa, the choice is in New Hampshire voters' hands now as they head to the polls for the first primary of this cycle, as opposed to the streak of 3 straight Republican primary cycles in which the Iowa caucus winner did not go on to win the nomination. Each of the last 3 winners in New Hampshire's primary went on to represent the GOP on the ballot in November. We'll be back with the first results right after the break. We have our first key race alert of the night very early, just 2% of the vote is in, but you can take a look here at the first results out of New Hampshire's Republican primary. Donald Trump holds a very narrow early lead over Haley with exactly 45% of the vote thus far. Haley has 40.6%, while Governor DeSantis trails much further behind at 8.7%. We've got a long way to go tonight, as just 5,500 out of an estimated 280,000 votes are in so far. Chris Christie and Vivek Ramaswamy are still receiving a small share of the vote, despite having withdrawn from the race. Christie was polling in double digits in New Hampshire prior to his withdrawal. It was his campaign's best state. Ramaswamy, meanwhile, was polling just behind DeSantis, and having endorsed Trump, it is likely that much of his support will go towards the former president tonight. Let's get a key race alert here with 27% of the estimated vote now in. Donald Trump has extended his lead to more than 10 percentage points now. He's got 48.5% to Nikki Haley's 37%. The two contenders here, Trump and Haley, are still separated by less than 10,000 votes right now, though that is not necessarily good news for Haley, as the more urban and more college-educated counties in New Hampshire were expected to publish their results faster than the more rural and likely Trump-dominated counties. Remember, 22 delegates are at stake tonight. New Hampshire awards them to be bound proportionally to presidential contenders based on the primary vote. A 10% threshold of the total statewide vote is required in order to be allocated national convention delegates. That is the benchmark candidates must hit here tonight in order to come away with any delegates at all. And right now, only Trump and Haley are above that mark, while DeSantis sits just below at 9.2%. Just about half of the vote is in now out of New Hampshire. Donald Trump has maintained and actually widened his advantage here with 49.8%. Nikki Haley continues to trail in a now distant second place with 36.1%, albeit the margin of lead for Trump is of course much closer than it was in Iowa. As things stand right now though, further back, DeSantis is unlikely to reach that 10% threshold to receive delegates tonight. 137,000 votes are reporting, and we certainly appear at least to be on pace to get close to that turnout record set in New Hampshire in 2016. Trump leads Haley by almost 19,000 votes. Alrighty, EP Official has a major projection to make right now. Donald Trump will win the New Hampshire Republican primary. This is the EP Official projection based on where the votes stand right now. It's a second consecutive primary win for the former president after his victory in the Iowa caucuses last week, dealing a major blow to the Nikki Haley campaign here, as she trails Trump by more than 16 percentage points. It's a dominant win for the former president in a state that the former South Carolina governor, Haley, likely had to win in order to carry some momentum into her home state's primary next month. New Hampshire was the only race on the calendar where she had consistently polled even just remotely within striking distance of Trump. Ron DeSantis, meanwhile, finishes far away in third place with 8.2%. He is below the threshold required to receive delegates from New Hampshire, yet his campaign may actually be exiting the state on a higher note than Haley, in spite of her finishing 26 points ahead of him. DeSantis overperformed polling expectations here, despite largely ignoring the state in recent weeks, and he'll look to exceed expectations again in Nevada in a couple of weeks. Taking a look at the New Hampshire county map, it wasn't the sweeping victory for Trump that he saw in Iowa, having won 98 out of 99 counties in the caucuses last week, as Haley has received pluralities in Hillsborough, Rockingham, and Grafton counties, home to many of the well-off, well-educated residents who were repelled by Trump's presidency. Hillsborough and Grafton counties provided Haley with her largest vote shares on the night. Trump had underperformed his statewide margin in 2016 in Grafton County by a wide margin, and the Haley campaign was banking on strong margins here to help her pull off an improbable upset. Unfortunately for her campaign, Trump's strength elsewhere in the state made sure that it was not enough. Taking a look at EP's exit polls, though, based on an average of recent polls taken in New Hampshire, the key question tonight was just how much of an educational divide there would be, and whether Haley's appeal to college-educated Republicans here in the Northeast would be enough for her to topple Trump. Among the 52% of college graduates within the electorate, 44% backed Haley, compared to 39% for Trump and 12% for DeSantis. However, looking at the equally prevalent non-college educated population, Trump's numbers are expectedly much higher, garnering 62% of support to Haley's 27%. Alrighty, EP Official can now display the estimated delegate totals that we project each candidate will walk away with from this contest. You need to receive at least 10% of the vote to receive delegates in New Hampshire. The 22 available delegates are awarded proportionally to each qualifying candidate, based on their share of the statewide vote. Any remaining leftover delegates are then awarded to the candidate with the highest total, that being Donald Trump tonight, who is estimated to receive 14 delegates, while Nikki Haley's second-place finish garners her 8 delegates. DeSantis, who finishes below the threshold to receive delegates at 8.2%, will receive 0. Stay tuned, as EP Official will return with coverage of the Nevada primary next. Until then, I thoroughly hope you enjoyed this New Hampshire primary coverage and prediction. Let me know what other 2024 presidential election-related videos you would like to see in the future. Shout out to my channel members on screen here. Thank you so much for your support. If you would like to become a member, go ahead and click the join button below this video to receive exclusive perks. Make sure also to subscribe to my channel down below, and please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Also, be sure to check out electionpredictionsofficial.com for my 2024 presidential election forecast. You can check out more